Today we're going to take a look at Volga Gambit, and it starts out the following way. Knight comes out, c4. So white gets the center, and black wants to seize the control by the counterplay c5. So that's attacking the pawn on d4, and it's unwise for white to accept that pawn on c5. So d takes c. Now black has various options such as e6, knight a6, queen a5. So e6 and knight a6 actually develop the pieces as black recaptures the pawn. So there's really no point in taking that pawn on c5. We want to gain more space by playing d5 forward. That allows us to establish a nice, powerful central situation right there. In turn, black goes ahead and attacks on the queen side, playing b5. White goes ahead and captures the b5 pawn, a6. So white actually has quite a bit of variety. In this position, moves such as knight f3 or queen c2 actually wait for black to take that pawn on c4, which after b takes c, say in this position we're going to play e4, recapture that pawn on c4, and enjoy a seemingly superior pawn structure. C takes b is the main line. If your opponent sacrifices material, the most important, the first thing you want to take a look at is go ahead and accept the sacrifice. So that's what we're going to do. Black plays a6. Black's idea, as we're going to see in a moment, is to open up all the files here on the queen side, give the bishop some extra influence along the diagonal. So b takes a. In this position, I also played a number of times. I played b6 here, which keeps the a file blocked. At the same time, white does have a superior pawn structure, establishes a great center, but black has the open b file and plays this kind of King's Indian type position. So b takes a, bishop takes on a6, knight comes out to c3, and g6. So the main point here with the bishop a6 there is that if white plays e4, then black can capture that bishop on f1, and when the king takes, white just lost the opportunity to castle. Now white does have options of getting the king to g2 or getting it out there to h2, which is a artificial castle. Karpov played this for white a number of times, so this is certainly one of the better ways for white to play. Now we're going to consider the main line with white playing g3. Black develops. At this point, d6 becomes a bit of a threat, and black needs to put the pawn on d6. Knight comes out to f3, knight d7, rook b1. So this move may seem just a little bit strange. Why play rook b1? So the idea being that white's rook is getting removed from this diagonal that the bishop is controlling, so that white can play b3 without the rook hanging on a1. Castle, castle. So white does put the rook here on b1 in advance to make sure that black doesn't generate the counterplay to stop the rook from going there. So at this point, I'm trying to put some pressure here on d5, and currently the threat being bishop c4, attacking the pawn on a2 and attacking the pawn on d5. Now white has to play b3 to prevent bishop c4. At this point, I'm going to play bishop b7. So this move is actually kind of controversial, since what I'm trying to do is force white to play the move that most of you guys would actually consider an excellent idea for white. So normally it is, yes, we do want to have a strong center, but an interesting point about this opening is the fact that as you're moving the pawns forward, you're actually weakening spaces behind. So in this particular situation, this diagonal for the bishop weakens. So it's actually worth spending a move playing bishop b7 to actually come back a move or two later back to the diagonal. Now, an interesting point, after bishop b7, the best move is considered to be knight h4. So you say, well, why would you put the knight on h4? It doesn't have a future there. You're not going to play it to f5, for example. The knight doesn't have all too many maneuvering possibilities. At the same time, this pawn on d5 is defended really well. So the idea being that the bishop on b7 would be kind of the knight on h4 on the side would be equalizing the bishop on b7 not being quite as effective placed on b7. So in this case, my opponent does go with the flow, and after bishop b7 plays e4. At this point, I start maneuvering my pieces around and trying to conquer some of those squares, some of those weak light squares, e2, d3, and also hitting this knight on c3. Queen goes to d2. My opponent plays the queen d2 with the idea that if I do decide to win this pawn right here on a2, he's gonna have a powerful play right there on the queen side. So it's really not worth it for black to get that pawn back that way. So bishop comes to a6, hitting that rook e1, and now I'm playing knight d7. So this game will teach you guys a lot of maneuvering. Look, the knight's going back and forth, the bishop going back and forth. All the pieces are very flexible getting around, and now I have some tangible threats here. So my knight wants to come out to here to e5 and come into d3. Bishop b2, and at this point I swing my queen to a5 first, putting some extra pressure. So when that rook comes to b8, that's when I'm going to be truly enjoying the opportunities here on A and B file, where a lot of tactics becomes possible. That's when I'm going to start considering playing c4. At this point, I also have very attractive opportunities with the knight coming to e5 and penetrating here to d3. Rook e d1. My opponent tries to get the knight back to e1 just in case the d3 square is getting weakened, and so basically the rook is unoccupying the space on e1. So knight comes to the center, and I choose to bring the knight from d7 since the knight on g4 still has some active possibilities there, targeting the f2, one possibility of supporting the bishop coming from h6. So knight e1, and now I actually choose to come back to d7. So white doesn't want to repeat the moves, and I don't think I would have repeated the moves myself, because I consider this position to be quite favorable for black. So my opponent plays h3, and at this point this is really a critical situation here. I thought for a few minutes. This was a quick practice game actually, about 30 minutes or 25 minutes for each player to finish the game. So here I thought about it for a few minutes, and I realized that I have an extremely promising opportunity here, going for this sacrifice right here on f2, which I actually saw a move or two before this situation occurred. So h3, and I sacrifice here on f2. So this is a typical sacrifice, and it's justified by the fact that, okay, queen takes, that is easy here. Queen takes f2, I'm just going to capture here on c3, I get the pawn back. In this case, I neutralize this bishop here on b2, so I'm not going to be suffering from any weaknesses there on the king side, and my knight gets this position on e5. So this position is actually strategically just about winning for black, with this weak pawns here on the queen side being targeted, excellent square on e5. So here my opponent certainly wants to both keep the extra piece and at the same time maintain the winning position. So king takes f2, and the problem with that, though, once the king is out on f2, there's a major opportunity for me to keep chasing the king forward, and at this point the king can hardly find a safe spot on the board. So bishop comes out to d4, and this pair of bishops here shooting along these diagonals are really going to do some damage. So king goes forward, and at this point I unleash the knight's power, they're bringing it out to the center. At this point, once again, the only move for the king is going forward to f4. So my opponent got sucked into this pretty quick. Thinking about it this now, considering this position, I guess might have been better to just give up the pawn there, giving up the knight on c3, taking the on f2 with the queen. Since now, as the king going forward, I can really open him up with f5. My opponent plays knight a4, trying to exchange the queens, and at this point I already see the winning solution. Calculate till the end. Now the challenge for white is that all of my pieces are basically engaged and attacking. So the rook is strong right there along the f file, knight on e5, bishop on d4 are very strong attacking pieces. And at this point, I'm sure there's multiple winning solutions, with the king on e4 being so weak. At the same time, you cannot just relax and let go, since white is trying to pick up that bishop on d4, and that's a very important attacking piece. So I gotta find something really quick. And as the arrow is pointing, that's just about exactly what I do. I bring this rook out to f2, sacrificing the queen on a5. So you say, well, why would you do that? Well, after queen takes a5, which seems like the only move pretty much. Okay, so queen goes to h6. So if queen takes on a5, then I'm gonna be continuing, and I guess you guys can take a moment and see for yourself. So if you guys like to pause the video and take a couple seconds to try out your solutions, go ahead and do that. So rook goes to e2, and after there's really no way to defend that. The knight is blocking off both of the squares, and king has to go to f4. And at this point, we're not even playing rook f8, which probably is winning too, I suspect. Now I'm gonna play bishop e3, which is the forced win. And at this point, the bishop can retreat anywhere along this diagonal, any possible square, and this is a checkmate. The king has nowhere to go. So that's my idea right here. My opponent obviously sees that. He's a very strong, experienced player, and he goes out there to the corner, and with the idea that I guess rook e2 is still extremely strong. King goes to e3. I can play bishop e3. I can do just exactly the same thing and win the game with a checkmate. Now I decide to make it a little bit quicker and more effective. So here we go. Queen takes e1. Rook takes e1, and I'm gonna finish him off with bishop d3 checkmate. So now that's kind of a cool game, but it certainly wasn't played perfectly. So now let's roll back here to the point when I sacrificed the knight, and certainly knight f2 is a strong looking solution. Now it actually is not all that great if white does come up with the best move possible in the position, and this will really expand your thinking and consideration in the moments that you think you're already in trouble. Now at this point, knight f2, certainly if queen takes, we're gonna take on c3. If king takes, then we're gonna get the king out to fresh air and checkmate him the way I showed you guys in the game. Now if white plays knight a4, white can actually take advantage of black's knight coming in and actually trap him. The idea being that, okay, f2 knight is hanging, the queen on a5 is hanging. Really the only thing black can do is capture the queen. Rook takes d2, and as we exchange the bishops, now the knight on f2 has nowhere to retreat. Black can still get some counterplay by capturing on e4 or h3, but really this position is going to be a big advantage for black. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this game, and good luck in your tournament games, attack and play with cards.